There's a specific kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with how hard you've worked. It's the exhaustion that comes after you rest, when instead of feeling recharged, you feel guilty, anxious, like you've wasted time, like you should be doing something. And here's what nobody tells you about that feeling. It's not actually about rest at all. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why your brain punishes you for resting, where this really comes from, and how to finally break free from it. Because once you see this truth, you can't unsee it. You finally have a free afternoon. No obligations, no deadlines looming. You could read that book, take a walk, watch something you actually enjoy, or just do nothing. But the moment you sit down, something inside you starts whispering. You should be working on that project. Other people are out there being productive right now. You're wasting your potential. So you try to rest anyway. You tell yourself you've earned it. You deserve it. But the guilt doesn't go away. It grows. It sits on your chest. And what was supposed to be rest becomes another thing you're failing at. So you get up. You force yourself to do something productive. And even then, you can't fully focus because part of you knows you're burned out and you needed that rest. You're not lazy. You're not undisciplined. You're not broken. You're caught in something psychologists call rest guilt, and it's one of the most insidious cycles modern people face. But to understand why you feel this way, we need to go deeper than productivity culture or social media comparison. We need to talk about what your brain is actually doing when you rest. Most advice about rest guilt goes something like this. Just give yourself permission to rest. You're allowed to do nothing. Rest is productive too. And look, those things aren't wrong, but they're not the full picture, because if it were just about permission, you'd give it to yourself, and the guilt would disappear. But it doesn't. You can logically know that rest is necessary, that you've worked hard, that you deserve a break, and still feel like a fraud the moment you stop moving. Why? Because rest guilt isn't just about believing rest is okay. It's about something much deeper, what rest represents to your subconscious mind. And this is where the truth gets uncomfortable. Here's what's really happening. For most of your life, you've been given a very specific message, whether directly or indirectly. Your value is tied to your output, not your existence, not who you are, not your humanity, your productivity. Think about it. When you were young, what got you praise? Good grades, achievements, staying busy. Being good meant being useful, helpful, accomplished. When you struggled or failed or rested, what happened? Disappointment, concern, questions about your effort or your future. You weren't taught that you had inherent worth. You were taught that you had to earn worth, and your brain internalized that equation. Productivity equals value. Rest equals worthlessness. Now here's the brutal part. When you rest, your subconscious doesn't interpret it as, I'm recharging so I can be my best self. It interprets it as, I'm not producing. Therefore, I have no value right now. I am vulnerable. I could be replaced, forgotten, left behind. Rest doesn't feel like self-care. It feels like exposure. Like you're revealing that you're not actually that capable, that driven, that exceptional. That without the doing, there's nothing underneath. And that's why the guilt is so visceral. It's not about wasted time, it's about wasted existence. Your nervous system genuinely believes that if you stop producing, you stop mattering. This isn't your fault. This conditioning runs deep. It's cultural, it's generational, it's systemic. We live in a world that has monetized every minute of your life, that treats human beings like machines, that celebrates hustle and grind and calls rest lazy. And if you grew up in an environment where love, attention, or approval were conditional, where you had to perform to be seen, this programming is even stronger. Maybe your parents were only proud when you succeeded. Maybe you learned early that being too much or needy pushed people away, so you made yourself useful instead. Maybe the only time you felt secure was when you were accomplishing something. And now, as an adult, you carry that same template. Do equals worthy of love and belonging. Rest equals unworthy, selfish, undeserving. Your guilt isn't a character flaw. It's a survival strategy your younger self developed to stay safe, valued, and connected. But here's what you need to understand. That strategy is now hurting you. It's keeping you in a cycle where you can never actually rest, which means you can never actually recover, which means you're running on fumes, which makes everything harder, which makes you feel more guilty when you need rest. You're not healing. You're just deteriorating slowly while feeling bad about it. So what's the truth that changes everything? You are not your productivity. I know you've heard that before, but I need you to really sit with it. You are not what you produce. You are not your output, your accomplishments, your efficiency, your usefulness. You are a human being. And human beings have inherent worth that exists before and beyond anything they do. A baby has worth, and a baby produces nothing. A person who is ill, who cannot work, who needs care, they have worth. You, right now, even if you did nothing for the next month, you would still have worth. Not because of what you might do in the future, not because of what you've done in the past, but because you exist. Now, I'm not saying productivity doesn't matter. Of course it does. Work matters. Contribution matters. Growth matters. But those things are expressions of your worth, not the source of it. And rest? Rest isn't the opposite of productivity. Rest is what makes meaningful productivity possible. You can't create, connect, or contribute from a place of depletion. You can't be present with the people you love when you're running on empty. You can't make good decisions, solve complex problems, or show up as your best self when your nervous system is in survival mode. Rest isn't laziness, it's maintenance. It's how you sustain the energy, focus, and creativity needed for the things that actually matter to you. When you rest, you're not wasting your life, you're protecting it. So how do you actually start breaking this cycle? Not with willpower, not by just thinking differently, but by retraining your nervous system to understand that rest is safe. The next time you feel that wave of guilt while resting, pause. Say out loud or in your mind, "This is rest guilt. This is my old programming telling me I'm only valuable when I'm producing." That's not true. You're not trying to make the guilt disappear. You're just separating yourself from it. You're recognizing it as a pattern, not a fact. Rest in small, contained windows. If resting for hours feels unbearable, start smaller. Set a timer for 20 minutes. Give yourself permission to do absolutely nothing for just that window. When the guilt comes, remind yourself, I have 20 minutes, that's all, and then I can reassess. This teaches your brain that rest doesn't mean collapse. It's not all or nothing. You can rest and return. You're not going to lose everything if you stop for 20 minutes. Track what rest actually gives you. Keep a simple note on your phone. After you rest, whether it's a nap, a walk, an hour of reading, write down how you feel afterward. Not how you felt during it, how you feel after. More patient, more creative, clearer, kinder to yourself. Your brain needs evidence that rest isn't dangerous. Show it. Over time, you're building a new association. Rest doesn't make me weak. It makes me stronger. I want to say something to you directly. You've been running for a long time, maybe your whole life, and you've convinced yourself that if you stop, everything will fall apart, that you'll be exposed, that you'll lose your edge, your value, your place in the world. But the truth is, you've already been falling apart, just slowly, quietly, in ways you've learned to ignore. The exhaustion that no amount of coffee fixes, the irritability that you can't quite explain, the sense that you're going through the motions but not actually living. That's what happens when you never rest. You don't collapse all at once. You just fade, bit by bit. And at some point you have to ask yourself, what am I actually protecting by refusing to rest? Who benefits from me being this depleted? What would I be capable of if I actually took care of myself? You deserve rest, not because you've earned it, not because you've been productive enough, but because you're human. and humans need rest to survive. The world will not stop if you stop. Your worth will not disappear if you rest. You are allowed to exist without producing. You are allowed to be without doing. And the moment you give yourself that permission, really give it to yourself, everything changes. So here's my challenge for you. Sometime in the next 24 hours, rest for 20 minutes without apologizing for it, without explaining it, without earning it. Just rest. And when the guilt comes, because it will, don't fight it, just notice it, name it, and rest anyway. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, not just to this video, but to the quieter part of yourself that's been asking for a pause. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to simply be.